Hey everybody, I wanted to follow up on the launch of our new t-shirt, Sip It, Don't Dip It. I wrote a series of articles on the Lord's Supper some time ago, and one of the articles, or one of the blog posts in that series, dealt with the issue of intinction, the increasingly popular practice of some churches taking the bread for communion and dipping it in the wine, and then consuming the wine and the bread together. And for those of you not in Reformed circles, particularly not in Presbyterian circles, you may not even know that there's a controversy there. But there is, and I've seen, and as I've seen this practice really become popular among some Baptist churches, Baptistic churches, and churches in the network that I'm a part of, I thought it was worthwhile talking about it and encouraging people to keep those elements separate when partaking. So you can read that article, it'll be listed in the notes below. But I just wanted to clarify a few things, because some of our brothers seem to be a little amped about the issue when we released the article. We've been taking some shots, when some of them have been a little petty, some of them have been thoughtful, and we take all of that on the chin, no problem, and we just want to clarify a few things. If your church practices intinction, we don't think that you are no longer a legitimate church. We do think it is a wrong way to observe the Lord's Supper, in the same way that Presbyterians and Baptists would say that, well, the way you practice baptism is wrong, and the way that you practice baptism is wrong. Though we may have overlapping complementary ideas, ultimately there's a real disagreement there. And yet we think generally that one another are true believers in real churches. And that's certainly the case here, and this one is something that we think is serious. We don't think we're straining at a gnat by pointing out that we should actually do what Jesus commands us to do. See, as a Baptist, I take the ordinances seriously. I guess all Baptists don't do that, but I certainly do. Baptists have taken the ordinances so seriously, baptism for example, that we suffered greatly for our view on baptism in the post-Reformation era. So, yeah, we think the ordinances are important, and we think the method that the ordinances were introduced is important. One of the reasons why we practice immersion of a believer in water in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit is because, as it is generally agreed, this was the practice of the early church. So we think mode matters. Some of our Presbyterian friends would say, well, mode doesn't really matter, it's not that important. Calvin is a good example. Well, when it comes to the Lord's Supper, we think it matters how we receive the elements. But again, we're not mad about it. In fact, this whole thing is sort of a funny way, at least it's funny to us, a funny way to encourage people to think. The whole idea of an anti-intinction league of Reformed Christians is funny to us. It's not a real thing. And we thought, oh, this will be fun for people who actually like the issue, and people that are learning about the issue may think it's funny and may find it interesting as well. So we're having fun with our brothers and sisters. We're not thinking less of anybody, even though it's gross if you do intinction. The t-shirt design, the concept was something that I put together, but of course I'm not an artist, so I passed that on to the great Peter Both in Germany, and he designed this wonderful t-shirt. And then our friends at the Hairy Ant printed up the t-shirts for us, and they turned out wonderful. They're super comfortable, they fit great, and it looks awesome. So big thanks to Peter Both, big thanks to the Hairy Ant, the print shop that takes care of our t-shirts. And yeah, just know, agree with us, disagree with us, just know we ain't mad about it. And we love you, even if you dip it instead of sip it. Let's just be gracious to each other and have a little fun, and not take ourselves too seriously.